Welcome back to Where We Buy. For the past few weeks, we've been taking a journey across Europe, visiting its biggest and best retail cities. And I've been asking our experts this question: what should a retailer or a brand know when they are looking to enter that city, when they're looking to open up new locations? And today, we've arrived at Milan, Italy. And I am really excited because my guest today is Teresa Iacomino, Director of Retail Occupier Services at JLL, based out of Milan, Italy.
Hi.
Welcome to it.
Hi, James. Thank you for
I'm,
having me.
I'm excited to have you. Before we started the show, I was explaining to you, Teresa, I don't know anything about Milan. You've got a blank slate here. You could tell me anything, and I'd be like, oh, that's very interesting. And this is how I imagine a lot of our audiences, because today's show, it's really for brands that may be exploring the idea of opening a new location in Milan, but haven't learned enough about the market yet, or what do they need to think about? So we'll start off with the real easy one. How would you describe retail in Milan to an outsider? What would you
Well,
say about it?
James, what Milan has always been famous about is for sure the fact that it is one of the capital of fashion, one of the capital of design, and the fact that it is a very well recognized business center. It is actually the first city in the country in terms of business concentration with companies that have their headquarters there. And it is not the country capital, which is based in Rome. So, what makes Milan unique in terms of attraction for retail is it's all about being a city that has always been really into fashion and design, and the fact that it is a city with a high presence of people that live the city daily. If you look to the city as it is, you will notice that the retail destination, the business area, the touristic path are all in the same place. Historically, the Duomo CBD has been the place for everything. It's all around the cathedral, it's all around the most iconic um, touristic attraction. And the city has expanded around this area in time, and we are seeing something new in the last 4 years after COVID visited us. And for sure this is a something that it's quite peculiar. Milan is not the first city in Italy in terms of tourism, but still attracts people every day, and the numbers are increasing. And what we are seeing is the fact that the interest remain high from retailers to open a flagship or open a second, a third, and a fourth store in the city.
Is there a street or a number of streets that are the sort of the high streets, the most popular places
Well,
for
I would
retail?
say that it depends a lot from the product segment that the retailer is working in. If you are a retailer active in the high fashion industry, you need to be, and you're looking for a location for sure into the Golden Triangle of Fashion or at the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele, which are the two main locations for high fashion luxury brands. If you are in the need to be recognized, to make a statement, to make your brand be known and famous and attract potential customers, you will probably go in Corso Vittorio Emanuele or in Via Torino or even in Via Dante, but you are going to stay in the surrounding of the Duomo area. Otherwise, if you are in the design business, you are going to look for a location in the Brera district, which is still in the city center, but it is a little bit um, uh, through the north, and it is the path that now connects the two main CBDs of the city. And if you are a cutting edge new brand that is going to look for attract a young customer, you will probably go for a place in Corso Garibaldi or maybe in the surrounding of the Porta Nuova district anyway. So it depends a lot from what is the product segment the tenant is operating in, but yes, it is a matter of location, but a very conscious and reflected one.
So you have to think very clearly and specifically about what you're trying to show, who your target
Absolutely.
audience is, as to where you're going to go. What what retailers or types of retailers have opened new locations or are opening soon?
Well, what we have noticed, and I think this is a European trend, it is that sportswear is having a huge moment right now. They are opening widely. And a few weeks ago, I was speaking with the clients and I was like, I was curious about the reasons behind the fact that sportswear is increasing so much, is opening so much, and well, actually, we have to go back to the COVID idea, or the COVID event,
Yeah.
and about the fact that we, especially in Italy, we were really stiff about how we had to dress to go to work. But now, after COVID, we are able to be a little bit more informal. So it's starting to be normal to wear sneakers under a suit and maybe to wear a t-shirt under your jacket. And this has brought the sportswear to become a real conversation into the fashion industry, and a lot of retailers operating in this segment are opening stores. We have seen how Nike, with their new concept of the Jordan World of Air, has chosen Milan for an opening, but also how on the Swiss brand of running shoes has chosen Milan quite recently. So it is those are brands operating into the sportswear business, but they have a very exclusive touch and they are very into positioning themselves into the fashion industry anyway.
That's so interesting that how COVID affected the consumer, and I think we definitely had that here where I live in the United States. But we were already very casual. I think before COVID, it just made us even more casual. Are there on the best shopping streets? Are there vacancies? Are there places for brands to lease
Wow.
right now?
If you are looking for the, let me say, the easy choice, if you want to be in Corso Vittorio Emanuele or you want to be in Via Monte Napoleone, the answer is sadly for us and for the tenant looking for it, no. But what we are noticing is the fact that tenant are starting to think outside of the box, and we are trying to advise them in how to. If we are able to see today how the city is expanding, also in terms of retail, is thanks to those retailers. They are starting to think outside of the box, and they have are starting evaluating also locations that are not directly into the most famous streets. And this is definitely changing the conversation. And for those that are willing to evaluate different opportunities, maybe in secondary street or in connection path, for them, there are opportunities and there are, let me say, but I don't want to be misleading, affordable ones. In the terms that they will probably be the ones that will gain the best economical condition compared to who is coming later. And at the same time, they could be an opportunity also to identify, very suitable spaces in terms of organization of the unit internally. So if we are speaking about, the most famous street, the answer is sadly no. But if you look outside of the box, there are opportunities and they could be, something to transform a tenant into a trendsetter in a certain way.
So if you're willing to go outside the box a little bit, be a trailblazer, there are still opportunities. Are rents going up? Or are they flat? What do you think
Well,
about
what
that?
we have noticing since 2021 is for sure that rents are increasing again, have starting increasing in 2021 and are keep increasing. We have noticing some numbers that in the past were not even imaginable. We had a transaction in the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele, which has a luxury destination that is close to 20 k per square meters per year, which is a number that we weren't used to in Milan, not recently at least. And what we are also seeing is the fact that um, in the past, Milan was not, as I was saying, it is not the most famous city in terms of tourism in Italy. You have Florence, you have Rome, you have Naples, Venice. But in the last years, Milan is starting to become a touristic destination, not just for the art, which is amazing anyway, but also for this component about the fashion soul of the city, the design aura that it is a constant all around. So the increase of tourism, we have registered in 2023 the highest number ever with over 8.5 million of visitors, of tourists. And 2024 is going to close with an increase of 10%. So if we add this, the low vacancy, the tourism that it is increasing, and the fact that Milan is going to host with Cortina the Winter Olympics in 2026, we have like the perception that the numbers are keep increasing in nearby future. So this is a good moment to start looking to avoid, to pay even more in the nearby future. And yes, it's a trend that it is confirming year by year. And it is nice because we never get bored in this job, and the dynamic stays really, really fun every day.
Are the tourists, I imagine tourists come from around the world. Are there certain places and regions that you see more tourists coming
Well,
from?
we had a quite high look in the past years to all the tourism coming from Middle East and from Asia, which was the kind of tourists that in the past used to spend very few times in Milan, maybe just one day. But now this number are increasing. The dwell time in the city is improved. And what we are noticing is that sometimes Milan is the destination of the entire trip. And this is probably also thanks to the fact that we can count on three different airports that are serving lines on the city. So the numbers that are really, really good. And people from Asia and in general from Middle East has increased in the last years, but we keep are having tourists from all over the world, thank God, the United States, North America, South America, which makes the environment always very dynamic.
So lots of tourist dollars pouring into the city. But let's talk about the local consumer. Would you say that is there anything about the habits of the shopper in either Italy or specifically in Milan that you think are different, or are they kind of just similar to other big cities in Europe?
Well, we for sure can count on something that it is very European. I mean, the fact that Italians love to do shopping like on site. They love to live the experience. If you come to Italy on a Monday and you come to Milan on a Monday, James, all the suburban lines, all the undergrounds are crowded. People get out, people go to the office, people spend times at open air. And it's something that you can, find pretty easily in the other European cities. On top of it, we have this habit to use our free time, like our lunchtime, to do shopping or to spend our time there. And I have to say that Milan keeps remaining a very retail attractive city, also and especially about the fact that it is also a wealth city where people love to spend, and the conversion of every store remains attractive to potential newcomers.
That's interesting. So a lot of people out and shopping. So would you say that Italians are less likely to shop online than maybe shoppers in other countries?
Well, I would say that it is not in our DNA. We have, we do it when it's necessary, but if
Yeah.
we have the time, we use our free time. Italians are used to live the experience, to touch the materials, to see how certain things is in a certain package. We love the full experience. It's something that has always been representative of us. It is our way to explore our places. We do it on foot, and it's also one of the reasons that has supported Milan into expanding in terms of retail destination. The fact that people walks by gives to the retailer the certainty that someone is going to intercept their store, even if, as we were saying, they think a little bit outside of the box and they choose a location which is not the usual one, the one that everybody is going to look daily. I think also Vittorio Emanuele or in Via Torino.
So let's well, I'm going to change the topic again here. So let's say you're sitting down for the first time with a new client. They're an international brand. They've never opened a store in Italy. They're looking for new locations in Milan. What misconceptions do they have in their head? What do you have to teach them that they haven't encountered
Well,
before?
for sure, we have to make them aware about the fact that um, it is not so defined, the fact that you need to open in a certain place to be recognizable from a potential customer. We have seen in the last year the fact that who has taken, as we were saying, the risk of getting out from the comfortable zones, streets, have seen an opportunity to make a huge statement and people talk. For example, previously we had a connection street between, we still have it, a connection street between the Duomo and Cordusio, which is the square that connects then with Via Dante and the Castello Sforzesco, which are the Duomo and the Castello Sforzesco are the two main touristical attraction in Milan. We have Via dei Mercanti that in the past didn't have such a clear retail, soul. But then at a certain point, not so much time ago, and clothing decided to open there. They still remain very central. They still remain in the middle of the action. They're still able to intersect a lot of potential customers, but they have chosen something different. And has created, expectation that made the all the newspaper operating in the business talk. And it was definitely something that was interesting, and other retailers in the last years are starting to do this. So at the moment, I will need to explain to a potential client this misleading aspect. I will also make them aware about the fact that to be found, they don't just need to be necessarily into the district that is voted for those kind of product segment, but that they can also imagine to do something different. In the past, the sportswear we were talking before were all located in the area of Corso Vittorio Emanuele, more or less. But then at a certain point, the someone took a risk into the Corso Garibaldi area, and now we have all the cutting edge brands that are started to open there and want to be there, and there are no units available anymore. So sometimes are even our retailers that are able to create new shopping destination, and this is something that we take time to explain all the time when we have a new conversation with a retailer, because sometimes they come and say, oh, okay, I would love to be here and here only. And yeah, it's complicated in the city of Milan with such a low level of availability to find necessarily the perfect location, but sometimes opportunity can come.
Are there any local laws or regulations that are unique that, retailers have to work through?
Well, Milan is an historical city. So sometimes when you decide to open a store into the historical parts of the city, you have to take under consideration the fact that the heritage department will take time to approve a project. Sometimes it's not just a matter of the facade, for example. A lot of buildings in the city center are, they have some issues regarding the facade, but sometimes also into the internal parts of the building. So an authorization for each request can be from 60 to 120 days. And retailers need to take under consideration this time because this will affect their project, and for sure the time that will be necessary to open from the moment of sign. On top of it, we have a really strictly regulated properties contract, which is the main one when you want to open in a high street. If you are, for example, the only exception is with, for example, for shopping centers. But if you want to open in Italy, whatever, in a high street, you have a property lease, and the minimum period is 6 years. There is no huge flexibility. And sometimes when clients come and tell me, oh, I would love to test the market for 6 months, for 1 year. Well, that becomes quite complicated because for even if a landlord could allow, for example, a break option, it is complicated for them because all the bureaucratic ether is going to say the same than the one for a contract of 6 years. So if you are a landlord that has a property in Milan or in another city in Italy, and you have a potential tenant that want to do a 6 months or a 1 year pop-up, it's very complicated to see this become reality. And this is sometimes for potential clients the kind of things that create an issue in terms of a legal approach when they wanna like come and see for a while if there is an opportunity and the potential for a long period contract.
Yeah, the pop-up is a popular tool that retailers use when they're testing a market, and to make that, if that's complicated to do, that's definitely a challenge. But there are I mean, it sounds like you do have pop-ups, right? They're just more complicated, or you
Well,
don't really
it's
have
very,
them?
very rare. I will say that
Very rare. Okay.
in Milan, but in general, it requires a lot of effort from both parties, because even if you can like put a break option at the end of a certain period, the fact is that on the other side, both parties are going to have the same obligation and the same exposure and same costs to underwrite that contract compared to a long one. And this is sometimes quite risky for landlords because in Italy, the law is very tenant protective, and landlords don't want to take the risk to give the unit for a 6-month periods and then not be able to rent it for a long one, or having a location that is blocked for a certain time, or not be able to regain it back. So it's always a trade-off. Sometimes there is um, especially with newcomers, there is sometimes a question. It is a question of trust. But yes, pop-ups are very, very rare, and it's something that for a lot of tenants, it's complicated to explain because they are more used abroad for sure.
Yeah. Well, here's something I wanted to ask you about
Yeah.
food and beverage. Are there many chains, F&B chains that are looking to open new locations in Milan, or is it more local restaurants, do you
Well,
think?
it is a process that it is starting in Italy too. As you know, when you come to Italy, we are famous for three things: fashion, art, and food. So we are quite strongly attached to our culinary heritage. So all the brands that comes to Italy from abroad, international chains, always find a little bit of complexity. But the truth is that people keep experimenting. And even if we have very strong national chain, but also we have very well frequented and always full local restaurant, we have started to see how international retailers operating in the food and beverage sector are looking at Italy, are opening in Italy, are experimenting in Italy. So it is a process that has started, and a lot of them are coming. It is complicated if they are specialized. They are, for example, from another country, and they are specialized in Italian cuisine. Let me say, on that we are quite competitive, but we love
Yeah.
ethnic cuisine, Asia, South American. So yeah, it is a process that has started, and we are seeing more and more brands coming to the market.
Yeah, I can't imagine that an Italian food chain outside of Italy would even want to try. I mean, people would just be like, "This isn't authentic. This is terrible." But yeah, if you're a chain, I don't know, sushi or ramen or dim sum or Indian, I could imagine that there's great opportunities in the Italian market. Um, we're running out of time, but I have to ask you, what's your outlook for the future for the city of Milan? I know that we talked about the Olympics. You told me it's a great time to get in while while rents are still rising. It's time to get in. What are you thinking about the future? What's your horizon for the
Well, I
city?
think that Milan is going to teach to us in the business that it is still a city to be. It is still a place where it's worth it to open a store and to start to be visible. And but it's also going to teach us that there are new places, there are new areas, there are a lot of opportunities in a lot of new coming districts that could be exploited and can create some pole of attraction, especially because it is not so big. It is when you cross it from one side to another, it's just 40 minutes by car. I mean, and you're going very, very far to the other side. So what is this going to come? We are going to see new district, new retail destination all around, and we are going definitely see a lot of new brands exploring the city and choosing Milan for their new opening in the next years, as we are used to.
I love it. You're getting me excited about Milan. I need to come and visit.
Oh, we'll expect you.
Teresa Iacomino, thank you so much for joining me today. For folks out there that are watching or listening, I just wanted to let you know you can subscribe to Where We Buy on the iPhone podcast app, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Just search for Where We Buy and hit subscribe. And we're also on the web at wherewebuy.show. If if you've got a specific question about retail, shopping centers, or retail real estate, feel free to connect and message with me on LinkedIn. Just search for James Cook JLL.